What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and we just had a huge fake out this morning. If you look at the stock market chart for the SPY, you'll see what I'm talking about. We were opening the day green, right? We were opening in a very green way. The pre-market was looking great, and the first bar of the day must have been a huge fake out for people because after that, it was just an onslaught, right? And the stock market just got pushed down to new lows on this downtrend, unfortunately, right? If you look at this, we just made new lows of this downtrend today, okay? Very sad stuff for the market. Now, what's important to recognize is that tomorrow is going to be incredibly important for the market, right? People are very fearful right now because of what the Fed is doing. They're very worried that rates are rising, and they're very worried about inflation. Now, tomorrow we're getting the CPI numbers. They're going to be updating the inflation numbers for us on May 11th. Okay, very important day for the market. It's probably going to have a massive impact either to the upside or the downside, would be my expectation, depending on how those inflation numbers come out. Now, we have some indication of how they might turn out by looking at the inflation numbers for last month, right? This is the CPI report for last month. And if we actually look at what was causing the inflation last month, we can notice that it was mostly energy, right? Overall, year over or month, the monthly inflation was 1.2%, but 11% increase in energy overall, right? 18% in energy commodities, 18.3% in gasoline, 22% in oil. So a lot of energy related things ended up increasing in price. And we also saw the 2% increase in transportation services because transportation uses that energy, right? It uses that oil, it uses that gas. And it's understandable that these things were increasing. We saw the huge war in Ukraine going on and huge oil supply fears due to Russia. And March, which is the last month that we have CPI data for, is actually when oil was spiking and reaching its highs right around here. Okay. Now, what's important to note is that since then, oil has come down a bit, right? It's not at those highs anymore. We started measuring the April data around this point when we were actually at a low, and then we did actually return somewhat higher. But on average, we have slightly lower oil prices, and we certainly don't have oil spiking up in price as much, right? So I would expect that the inflation report that we're going to get tomorrow might not actually be as bearish for the market as what we got last month, right? Because oil isn't going to be as big of a factor, right? Oil has already seen its massive price increase, and it hasn't been continuing to increase this past month. We saw the big increase last month, and that's what spooked the market with all this inflation, right? Massive increases in the cost of oil and energy-related products, and that ended up driving the overall inflation number up. Now, if you actually look at other categories like used cars and trucks, you can see there is some deflation there, right? There's a little bit of deflation there. And if you look at commodities, not counting food and energy, there is a little bit of deflation there as well. So if those trends continue, in addition to the fact that oil probably won't be spiking up the number as much as it did last month, that could actually be good for the inflation situation, right? We might not be dealing with a situation where inflation is looking as threatening as it once was. Potentially the Fed could start backpedaling a little bit and not be as hawkish as they are currently being, right? That would be good for the markets. It's not a guarantee, but it is something to potentially look forward to. It's a potential turning around point for the market. Obviously, none of it's a guarantee. I can't say for sure that that's going to happen, but I would expect, based on the information that we have, that potentially inflation comes down just a little bit, because I do have to say, this was a dramatic spike up in inflation, right? This was pretty dramatic what we saw due to the war in Russia and Ukraine. And hopefully we won't see this kind of inflation persisting permanently, right? There is going to be a turning around point for inflation. It can't just keep going up forever. It has been going up for quite a while, and it could go up a bit further than this, right? We're not only worried about inflation due to the war in Russia and Ukraine. We were seeing inflation rise before then, but that is something to think about. In the short term, at least, we might get a little respite due to potential falling inflation. We'll just have to see tomorrow. It's something to keep your eye on. And other than that, guys, we'll make sure to cover it tomorrow. But keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. And other than that, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.